What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a quick video just going over the mass shootings in the United States and discussing some of the factors. So one of the things that I think to talk about is gun ownership, but I think that a lot of times we get this sense of that, oh, it's just if you didn't have guns then you wouldn't have mass shootings, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. Like in Mexico you have some of the strictest gun laws in the world, and yet you still have cartels carrying out huge hits, and you still have massive firefights with the police and the cartels, and these criminals are not necessarily afraid to carry guns or afraid of laws that are going to say you can't own this gun. They're still going to have them. The United States produces more guns than any other country in the world by far, and this is certainly a problem because some of those guns will make their way into the hands of the public, and that is certainly an issue. But just by banning guns in general, I don't think it's going to make it better. You need to go after the gun manufacturers, and you need to start to say you need to start producing less guns, or have a certain quota as like this is what we need to meet for this year to arm our army or whoever we're arming, and then we need to stop. But the next factor they talk to is distress, societal factors, things like finances, employment, and family relations. A lot of times people are mad at life in general, so they're suicidal, and this is why a lot of times maybe these mass shootings are perpetuated as a means of like suicide by cop. People are just looking to die, and they want to either take as many people with them, or they're trying to get the police to kill them. So a lot of times these issues are more than just a guy wanting to inflict harm. Sometimes these people are seriously mentally ill, and that leads to the drug issue that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But in this article, they talk about toxic masculinity could be a factor. And I think that's interesting because psychologically, when you look at males and their aggressiveness, it's typically given outwards towards others. So they'll typically like use that aggressiveness to assert their dominance. And this is why 98% of all mass shooters are male, supposedly, as they're saying. And that could be interesting because females maybe typically internalize their aggression, and that's why you'll see suicide rates are more prominent in women, because they typically take their aggression inwards on themselves, whereas men take it outwards onto others. And that could be a factor there. I think that's an interesting thing, maybe something that people could look at and study more, because that's an interesting psychological difference and conclusion that you can come to just looking at those statistics. So the other issue, like I was saying, was the drugs. So you have a lot of conservatives, specifically in the United States, like this Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who wants to say that prescription drugs and that all of these people were on hardcore prescription drugs. This guy talks about how, Tucker Carlson talks about how between 1991 and 2018, the total number of prescription drugs has exploded by 3,000%, right? And the same time, suicides and mass shootings have gone up, right? And a lot of these they're talking about prescriptions that are specifically for like suicide and people that are having depressants, like antidepressants basically. So these are kind of those drugs that are trying to help people get over mental health, and then it's instead of helping, it's creating a bigger problem. That's what these guys are saying. I don't necessarily think it's 100% the cause, but I think that there is something to be said that the increase of big pharma's influence over our youth and our kind of society is leading towards a serious problem in mental health, and that's contributing to the mass shootings without a doubt. This article here I really like because it goes over some serious statistics, and it's put out by the National Institute of Justice in the United States, and it just talks about a lot of the same things we were just talking about, the suicidal tendencies, and a lot of these people, and the fact that a lot of these people were suffering from severe childhood trauma. Over 80% were in crisis, right? So this is just showing that these are serious problems in society, not just or like in these people's lives, and not just not just something that just happened one day, right? This is a growing theme. Trauma was a common element of the backgrounds of those committing mass shootings, both in the database and the qualitative studies. Early intervention through school-based services may be a key component of early prevention. So, like, we just need to be more empathetic towards these people. We need to get them first. Somebody needs to step out and, like, give them a lifeline, because sometimes it's just they, I think, maybe give up and they think, hey, well, I guess I'll just go out. Because nobody cares, and but it's so sad, because a lot of times there are bigger issues here, because with society changing, with depression, with economic recession, with you having kind of this rise in TikTok and all of these dopamine sucking tools that want to keep you entertained, this just corporate consumerism that is eating the soul of every member of the society in North America, not just in the United States. But in the United States, because you have these other things that I've just discussed, the firearms, the access, the drugs, the economic problems, you have this powder keg for these people to lash out against society. And this is why in Canada you're seeing the same thing happen in bigger cities like Toronto. In the past 2 weeks, we basically had every single day somebody has been stabbed on the transit system. So in the public, people are lashing out against the public because they are mad at society and they're unable to handle their own shit, basically. These people are mentally unstable, and society is just pushing them further and further away, with less access to mental health and more punitive responses to the problems that have impacted these kids for however long, or these people that commit these problems, right? Now, some of them are just crazy, and that's just what we have to accept, is that there are crazy people out there that will do crazy things. But this is more to do with something, that's much deeper. And one of the biggest things, like I was saying, with this growth of TikTok and all these social media, what you have is this imposter or this want to replicate, right? These people want to replicate these things, so it becomes a copycat. And that's what, and here, one of the things that I was looking at was, like, it was saying that there was a copycat. I don't know exactly where the article went. Anyway, it went away, but it was saying that, like, are these copycats? The last week you've had 3 different. Are they just people trying to one up the last mass shooting because they want to get more famous, right? There's certain people that do things specifically for fame. It's not even for, and that's just like on TikTok and all these things, social media nowadays. A lot of these people don't even care about money. They just care about fame. They care about views. How many views do I have? How many views do I have? They don't care what they're saying. They don't care what they have to do to get those views. But getting those views is all that they care about. And that's this consumer culture that they've been fed their entire life growing up. And with this new rise in technology just dominating our society and our lives, we become more predicated to this psychosis of the want for fame, the want for this influence, this social media influencer position. So these people, they are just seriously caught up in this psychosis of the social media influencer, right? Like, it's this want for fame and this want for recognition is above all, and it kind of clouds their own idea of morality, their own idea of humanity, and it becomes more of a game for social status than it is for, human betterment, or for economic gain, or for to be seen as a good member of society, right? Like, they don't really care about any of that. They just want to be famous. And that's why some people do commit these crimes. They've said it themselves. But I think it's a bigger factor for why it's becoming more and more prevalent, and why technology, the rise of social media, is influencing this to increase, and it will continue to increase as long as we allow technology to control our youth. And when this is combined with drugs and the easy access to firearms, as well as the economic depressions that we're currently experiencing, it all comes together to fuel this rise in mass shootings, and it will and if these conditions continue to get worse, then you're going to see an explosion in mass shootings and just public violence from every aspect of society in not only Canada, but in the United States, but all over the world. And we're already seeing it, and I think it will continue until we address those issues. So I think that it's not just one issue, it's all of them. And you seriously need to understand technology too, because I think technology is the biggest factor, like for why these people are being pushed. Yeah, drugs is there, don't get me wrong, but without this kind of push towards fame, this push towards kind of this uncaring kind of I don't know what to call it, but just this uncaring parasite in society that wants to have everything but give nothing, right? It just wants to take everything and have everybody recognize it, but it doesn't actually want to produce anything or do anything. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't want to work. It doesn't want to actually create anything good. It doesn't want to be a contributing member of society. It just wants to take. But this is that consumer. This is that soul-harboring corporate consumerism that preaches this, because that's what the corporation is. The corporation just wants to take. It just wants to take. It doesn't want to give anything back. Yeah, it wants to do little philanthropy to make you think it's not evil, because it's been doing so much terrible stuff, exploiting so many people, stealing resources, pumping your body full of harsh chemicals and crazy things, at the same time making you think they're saints, right? So this is the corporation. This is, when you look at it, it's just it's how corporate consumerism pushes these things into our lives and allows them to influence our everyday life without our ability to change the narrative. And that's what it is, right? Like they don't want you to point to these things. That's why, like, oh, it's conservatives that are pointing to drugs, or it's these people that are at guns, and liberals pointing to guns, and it just creates these divisions, right? But when you see it all together, you start to say, okay, this is a bigger issue, and this is being pushed because it's all like the guns, the drugs, the technology. It's all corporate. That's all corporate right there, and every single one of them that is the underlying factors for what's creating these mass shootings come from corporations. And that's why I'm saying it's this corporate influence into our lives that has increased since the early 2000s. And this is why we have this rise. And I'm not saying like it's corporations themselves. I'm saying it's the things that they want to promote through consumerism that takes the moral and the kind of humane fabric out of our society and replaces it with a more robotic, more fame, or I should say spectacle-driven society, right? Anyway, that's what I thought. That's my thoughts. Tell me what you think. Comments below. Have a great day, guys.